Guys, a 10.5-inch iPad? What? Okay, you know what? There's always people spreading rumors. And usually when there's just one rumor, you're just like, oh, that's that guy. But when it starts popping out all over the place, you kind of have to take it seriously. It still might not be true, but I think we should at least talk about this as it might happen. What is that rumor? The rumor is that Apple is planning on releasing a 10.5-inch iPad, which means less than an inch difference with the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, or the iPad Air, if that's what you have. I have no clue what they'd call it. The iPad Pro, I guess they'd call it the iPad Pro 10.5. There you go. What do I think of this? I think it's bizarre. I don't know why they would want to change it at the last second, given we've had a set resolution since the beginning. And not screen resolution, I'm just talking size of screen. 9.7. That's what Steve Jobs wanted. That's what we've stuck with even to today. And after giving it some thought, the only purpose and the only way I might even be on board with a 10.5-inch iPad is if the size of the actual iPad didn't change. We just made the screen take up more space on the tablet. I don't know how aesthetically pleasing this would look, given the bezels would dramatically shrink on the sides, and even on the top and bottom they'd get smaller. But maybe that's kind of the whole point. Can we make our mid-range tablet even more small and yet make the display larger somehow? Maybe that I could kind of get on board with. But if they're just gonna take exactly what the iPad Pro 9.7 already looks like and then slightly increase it, that's barely a difference. Like on a phone, adding an inch is a big deal because that goes in your pocket. But with a tablet, you've already got a 9.7-inch screen. You're basically at 10. So you're gonna say, I'm gonna make it to 10 and then add half an inch. On a screen that big, you're not making much of a difference. And I don't know what the resolution would be. I hope they would keep it at least the same resolution of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. That way the pixels per inch would be very high, but coders wouldn't have to redesign a bunch of things. That's what's so annoying when a company changes the resolution of something. It means the developers have to start all over again. And there's still a ton of apps that haven't been optimized for my 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And I'm not talking small developers. I'm talking like Facebook. Facebook does not have an optimized version of the iPad Pro. You still cannot do split view on Facebook. Like, come on. The social network doesn't know how to code for a freaking iPad. I don't know. It's something small that bugs me. Sorry. Kind of like this topic. It's like, why change it if it's not broken? Like, at that point, I don't know if you want to have a full-size keyboard or an iPad type looking keyboard. What is this even supposed to be called? The iPad Pro Mini? But like slightly mini. That's such a minuscule difference. I don't know why they do it. But at least at that point, by next year, maybe tablets will start to get 3D touch, which is nice, I guess. Hopefully it means this 10.5-inch iPad will go back to the naming scheme of iPad Air, given the purpose will be to make it lighter, even lighter. You know, the iPad Air 2 is thinner than a pencil, and I don't think anyone's complaining about how thick iPads are. But we all have to honor Johnny Ive's vision of making things as thin as possible. So my whole response and reaction to all this is just, what? And the more I think about it, the more confused I get, because if you do keep the tablet the same size but make the screen on it larger, you're not going to have much gripping room for your hands when you're holding it in portrait mode. If your bezels are like as thin as a smartphone's, like why even try that? And it also means you have to reduce the size of the bezels on the top and bottom of the tablet, which leaves less room for the home button. I don't know, I can't wrap my brain around this, but I'm gonna trust my Apple sheep instincts and say if they decide to do this, they'll probably make it work in a way that I'll appreciate. Even though I want to stick with my 13-inch iPad Pro. I know it's not 13, it's 12.9, but I'm 0.9, barely a difference. That would mean that the 10.5-inch iPad whatever, I'd call it the iPad Y, would look very different from its Mini and Pro counterparts. That's what's kind of nice about the iPad lineup right now. The Mini, Air, and Pro all kind of look like the same tablet. They have the same scales, same looking bezels. They just kind of look like different ratios. I like that. And if they did it at 10.5-inch but shrunk the bezels, that would look weird because then you'd have to change it across all of them, which I guess is fine. If they did that with the iPad Pro, how big would it be? 13.5 inches? It's not a huge difference. And if they're not shrinking the bezels and they're just making a literal iPad Air that's a little bit bigger, it better do some freaking awesome stuff to be worth it. Like 3D touch on a tablet. I don't know why it's not there yet. Maybe it's hard to design for some reason. So we may be seeing a slight increase in all the screen sizes of our tablets. That's what this could mean, or it could mean nothing. I'm kind of hoping this is a rumor that dies off. So let me know what you think of a 10.5-inch iPad. I think it's confusing. I'm kind of against it. But if you could see the purpose in it that I'm not seeing, let me know in the comments below, because I legitimately would want to know. So this is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.